YouTube! Welcome back to the vlog series. This week we're taking MARINCESS to Paisley. We're going to Comic Crazy as always, our local scene, Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. If you're around the Central Belt area in Scotland, please come check it out. We're usually 30 plus people taking part in this tournament every single week. Now, MARINCESS in this format. Is it good? Is it not? I don't know. Let's take a look at the deck profile really quick and see what we're cooking up this time round. But first, a big shout out. Thank you so much to Jack Atlas is King and CEO Polaris for those Patreon contributions. Without you, this series would probably be pretty hard to justify. So thank you so much. If you want to be a Patreon, you have your name splashed up on the screen in just a moment. You can help support this, as there is a lot involved with creating IRL content for TCG like this. As mentioned, MARINCESS is the deck of choice this week. Let's jump on into the deck profile. I'm going to be honest, there's nothing crazy, spicy, or special about this. It's a very typical MARINCESS deck list, or pretty much any Cyberse deck list, which is a bunch of one-card, sometimes two-card interactions and combos, and a whole bunch of defensive cards. It's basically every Cyberse archetype. Beginning, first of all, with Pascalos. This one specials a guy out your hand. Spring Girl banishes and specials, obviously really good in time if necessary, because you can mill to burn for 200 for each MARINCESS card. Blue Tang, best starter in the deck. Seahorse, and the one of Mandarin, and the Sleepy Maiden. Sleepy Maiden allows you to equip from your graveyard, or I think, yeah. And that means you can get the dive instead of the field spell sometimes if necessary. Yeah, just good little extenders regardless. And one final copy of Signet Mining. It's just basically the 40th card. You can either play an extra defensive card or an extra consistency card. Like I said, every single MARINCESS is a one-card combo except Sleepy Maiden, so you'd be surprised that you don't need that much consistency in here. For the last three MARINCESS cards, I'm playing one field, one ocean, one dive, and one wave. You really don't need more than one of each, and they never really came up for me. Dive, I guess, in multiples could be okay as an extender, but I just, this deck sort of, if you can't keep your normal summon on the field, then I don't think Dive is very useful. Two copies of Potted Desires for consistency, and, well, you could probably say, damn, you're going to banish your one-off wave. I just simply didn't. And the rest of this deck, like I said, is just going to be infinite defensive cards. We got 3 Ash, we got 3 Droll, 2 Cosmic. In the main deck, this actually worked out really nicely. 3 Book of Moon, 3 Dark Ruler No More, 3 Infinite Impermanence, and for the spice, the crazy tech card that anyone playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Will be blown away by. I played 3 Floodgates. Now, the reason Ghost Match is really good in this deck specifically is because of Stealth Kraken, so it acts as a sort of Vanity's Emptiness for non-water decks. If they control a monster, so too good of an interaction to not main at least. For the extra deck, we played 2 Xyz Monster 3, of course. Totally awesome Bahamut Shark Stealth Kraken for what I mentioned before, and of course, Shark Toad is a 2-card combo that you can get off with the right monsters to end on your full MARINCESS board, plus an Omni Negate. Pretty good. Played 1 Splash Mage. I'll be completely honest, I don't know why this is in here. I don't get it. I don't know why this is in here. I net decked half of this extra deck and I couldn't find the Crystal Heart, so this is a Splash Mage. Yep. We play 1 Zelantis, MVP of the deck, honestly, going second because you get to banish all of your opponent's monsters and they don't come back unless they're water, because Blue Slug locks you, which is a very cool interaction that you can do with this archetype, and that helps you out problem cards. So 1 Zelantis, and then the rest are basically MARINCESS, so 2 Sea Angel, 2 Blue Slug, the Coral Triangle to search your trap card, and of course the graveyard effect of this is extremely important and very, very powerful if they crack your field for turn 2. 2 copies of Anemone, and 1 copy of each of the Link 4s. Argonaut Argosaur is the one you're looking for, Bubble Reef, and the Marble Drock for the infinite recycling. So that is the extra. For the side deck, sort of slapped together really quickly just before round 1 started, honestly. But, a couple of good generic cards you're always going to like against things like Pearly, for example, is the Kaijus. Same bestial lineup that I played in my Burning Abyss deck. Some hand traps for any combo decks. 3 copies of Nibiru and double Veiler, as well as evenly matched, and 1 copy of Feather Duster for those back row matchups. Siding into Labyrinth was an absolute nightmare. I had like a bunch of garbage in my main that just isn't good against Labyrinth, like Book of Moon, for example, because there just isn't enough. So you could probably change out a couple of things in here to make your back row matchup a little bit better, because there's so much crap in your main that it's designed for the meta, other than Labyrinth. So that's the only thing I'd really change here is the side. Alright, that has been my deck profile today. I hope you enjoyed this. Remember, Patreon, if you want to support this series, is really, really important. I would appreciate it a lot. Comment, like, and subscribe with any suggestions and feedback for the series, and any decks you would like me to play in the future going forward. Round 1, game 1, and do we have a deck of all time here? My opponent wins the dice roll, and they're gonna be raiding some genders today. Dire reference. I have a Droll in my opening hand, and a Cosmic Cyclone, which is going to be a huge pickup in this matchup. He leads with a Foolish Farfa, discarding the field to revive itself, as well as going into a Runic Engine, which doesn't really do much other than give you a level 9, which helps you climb up into your Xyz. He passes on Leviathan, which is basically a cross between, like, Xyz Import and DD Crow. Very good boss monster, so I'm gonna try and do some link climbing to bait it out, and eventually he's forced to. I'm gonna keep extending with the Spring Girl, but he's got Nibiru. That's just gonna have to be pass for me. He starts his turn with a Vala, discarding Mardell to summon out a Mardell for the field spell. Enter Bladnir is made, which banishes my back row, as well as a Thunderbolt to get rid of the token since he doesn't have a battle phase. Back to me, in the draw phase, you know what that means, that one card deck protocol activates. But, of course, that Cosmic Cyclone we picked up at the start of the duel is gonna come in very handy. We play out the rest of our turn uninhibited, clear out the Jormungandr with a Marble Drock, gather some resources, and pray that this is enough to end our turn with. With no cards left, all we need to do is pray for him to not draw a generator, and he drew a generator. Vala effect is going to get him back up into a Jormungandr, suck up my rock, and pass back to me. I climb it back up again, this time into Zelantis, and right here is the best going second interaction of the deck. I clear here and decide to give him the Zelantis instead of the card in my hand because I can make a push again next turn, as long as he doesn't draw another generator, and yeah, I drew another generator. Okay, we're gonna have to scoop this one up. This was a bit of a stressful and long game 1, and losing it feels really bad to the start of a tournament, but it's important to stay focused and treat every duel as a brand new start. This is an important skill that I've picked up over time, and something that I would really impart upon you as good advice. This has been almost 20 minutes of the round here, and it's important that I recognize that it's better to lose this battle than lose the war, because if I lose this game, and that's a big risk to keep playing here, then I'm going to probably lose in game 3 since they get to go first. Game 2, we get to go first, and after being hit with a Droll and Lockbird, I hate that card, we managed to end on some resources back to our hand, as well as the important Argonaut, Spell and Trap Negate, very important card in this specific matchup. He leads with Raigeki, so I don't have a choice but to immediately use it, bringing Marbled Rock onto the field, which should be pretty good follow-up. He goes Lopter for cost, and I have Ash Blossom, but that's met with a Call by the Grave. Mardell grabs Boss Stage, and he activates Burgeoning, which, TLDR, that card is just E-Telly for 2 generators. With that many level 9s, he overlays them into Jormungandr, sucks up my field, Argonaut and Rock, and at least I get an Anemone return. End of battle phase, I use Evenly Matched, and that hits boss stage, which, ladies and gentlemen, do not set your traps or activate cards that don't need to be activated until main phase 2. That's a lesson for you to take away here. And I'm sure you're probably wondering, why are you playing Evenly Matched when you're going first? Might not actually surprise you here, but I didn't have anything for Generator. So, pretty rough, but we got rewarded for it. In our standby, we sack that Cosmic Cyclone for boss stage, combo our way up into Bubble Reef, and another turn with so much advantage, we're setting up negates, Pot of Greed every turn, into a victory. Time for the deciding game 3, and his first action is Tiki Curse, I think it is the draw for level 9s. He has Lopter and Burgeoning, which is full combo into Leviathan, Har and a Lopter for Utgarda as well. But hey, when the ruler is no more. We combo up through Ash Blossom on our Sea Angel into a total field wipe with Zelantis. I thought I could maybe get a Bahamut Toad play off of here, but I kind of just awkwardly stumble myself into an Anemone in a set wave. It's probably good enough. We try and attack for game here, but he's got a Runic Chump Block, and it's merely delaying the end of the duel at this point with Bahamut Toad, a board, and multiple resources in the hand. This round is ours. Now, I cannot stress enough the importance of playing around time. You have to give yourself enough chance to win with damage for that game 3, which might seem very far away now, but if I didn't plan ahead in game 1 like this, there was a very real chance that I could have drawn this game or potentially lost the whole match if there was some sort of life point manipulation in his deck, which he might have with something like Munin. Let's get into round number 2. This time, we're up against Salvengreat with the new support cards, which, with the dice roll victory here, that's going to be really important. And we start to combo off, and Ash Blossom hits our Sea Angel. Regardless, Coral gives us the trap card. We keep extending into 2 level 4s for Bahamut Shark, but on summon, Nibiru. We still have 4 cards in hand, some recurred resources, so it's not that bad of a situation. We just need to hope that we can survive the turn. But they go Flame Buffalo for Gazelle into full combo for Access Update, and I'm staring down at my Cosmic Cyclone like, ah, yes. This will be good for the generators, I hear. Well, game number 2, I just have 2 blue tangs, and on the one hand, I can take it slow and end on maybe like an Anemone and a Wave to play around Nibiru, but I decide, you know what? If I learned anything about underwater marine life through multiple Master Duel meta SpongeBob meme reviews, it's better to die with pride than live on your knees. So we play into every single hand trap in the game possible, and we get rewarded with an end field of Argonaut, Shark, Toad, Wave, and Ash. Sometimes it's just worth it. They force out my Argonaut with Imperm and a Circle, and I think for a moment here, well, I assume they haven't drawn Gazelle, so we'll just trade out this Ash now. Thrust comes down, which is terrifying, but Toad Negate has to be used on this. Foxy is the normal summon, and I'm wondering maybe I just take away all possible chances of getting to Gazelle with Wave, but I let it go for a spinny ad. They think for a moment and come to the conclusion that there really is no going anywhere from here, scoop it up, and we go to game number 3. My hand is pretty good, but the problem is we're going second now, and we only have MARINCESS cards, which I don't know if this is going to be enough, especially with a hit on a normal summon. But they simply set 1 card and pass. Naturally, it's very obvious now that, well, if they've bricked, then it's clearly a clogged Nibiru and Thrust or something in the hand here. So we go for a pretty conservative play here of just Pascalos, Tang, Shark, Toad, which is 5 summons, protection under Nibiru, and it's just good enough to poke here. They normal summon the new monster here, which will Veiler, which they will called by, but will chain a second Veiler for. I do really want to play around Thrust, but word of advice, sometimes you can't play around everything, and your hand is just simply forced. With Toad Negate still live, we gotta hope that this will be enough. They can't actually force out the Toad here with just the Balinks and 2 set cards, so we should be able to take it away with enough resources. After playing through Rage, stunning them with a Wave, poking slowly, all of which was under Nibiru, which they did actually have all along, we managed to take this one down here. A good lesson in this duel here is to try and slowly mold a picture of your opponent's hand and figure out what they actually have. Now, naturally, you should be tracking what they're searching and what they're adding to their hand regularly through their normal combos, but further than that, based on the plays they make, you can probably start to predict, well, if they didn't go with this card, it means that they didn't have this other card as part of their combo, for example. Like if I normal summon Seahorse, I clearly don't have Blue Tang, as an example. And because of the fact my opponent showed me Nibiru in game 1, and they didn't make a play in this game, chances are they have Nibiru in the hand. So let's go to round number 3. This is time for one of those nightmare matchups, when your deck loses the dice roll and the engine isn't super great into it, as well as your side deck being pretty much not built for it. Yeah, we're against Labyrinth. We do have Ash Blossom for the Extravagance, which, here's the thing, sometimes I just want to hold Ash for Big Welcome, but you just can't let Pot of Greed resolve, can you? They just set a singular card and pass it back to us. It's Blue Tang Clan, and that ain't nothing to fuck with. Droll Lockbird comes down. Everyone's maining this bullshit. I'm trying really hard to work out how to go for Kragan and Gozen match, otherwise there's no world I'm making Gozen live in this game. We try to do a little bit of a poke, but get hit with a big welcome Labyrinth. I decide to Cosmic here, because I feel like removing the bounce effect in the graveyard for the follow-up is kind of important. There's nothing else on the field. I don't know if this was correct or not. I just figured because they don't have anything else, I might as well Cosmic and remove a Compulse on my field next turn. But I'm sure a Labyrinth expert in the comment section will probably inform me of that. And I don't mean that ironically. He chump blocks with Lady. We're just going to have to Zalantis and set the most dead card in Yu-Gi-Oh! For this matchup. Extravagance again, and no Ash Blossom this time, so he proceeds to Ariana, set 3. We try to climb, but get hit with a strike immediately, so it's just Battle Phase into Welcome. And we're gonna have to go lick our wounds here. Nothing worse than this type of situation. A deck you weren't focused on, you lose the dice roll. We'll see what we can do in game number 2. So I decided to choose to go second. Some strategies like this don't really work out, but with nothing in my side deck that's particularly great in this matchup, I figured, well, if I'm gonna have Evenly and Lightning Storm, I might as well try and draw them rather than just have them sit in my dead hand going first. Well, we got rewarded, so we're just gonna go straight to the battle phase, take the 1-for-1 on Evenly match, and try to start playing in main phase 2, but there's a Daruma Cannon for our 2 bodies, and that's going to be the end of a MARINCESS turn. Now, remember what I said about choosing to go second? It actually turns out they messed up their side patterns because they have a Kaiju for a set Pascalos that he tries to stop us from using it to do link climbs on the following turn. We normal summon Seahorse here, which he has Punishment for. Now, I have Imperm, and I could use it immediately to negate the punishment, but I know he's going to chain the Lady to get a set from the deck. So what I do is I remain patient, pass the priority of a quick effect activation back to him, and he does indeed choose to use the Lady. So now my Imperm gets to basically act as a 2-for-1 because I was willing to hold off on flipping it immediately in response to the punishment. We do some link climbing, set up a Toad and a Bubble Reef, and the only way we're outing ladies with a 2200 Gamma Seal. This deck struggles to out big monsters unless you commit everything into Zelantis, so it ended up working out. I wasn't kidding when I said my side deck was trash for this matchup. Alright, game number 3 here, and he's very likely going to want to start. And it's Extrav. 3 games in a row. That's fine. We've got Ash Blossom here, and on our turn, we repeat the same play as the last game, which is a 1-for-1, evenly matched. He summons a Stovey on Resolution, and the last back row means we can drop Cosmic for, giving us uninhibited play for main phase 2. Almost. There is a Droll and Lockbird, so we won't get Wave, but we can set up Argonaut and a Negate here because of the Sleepy Maiden. He tries to Ariana, but we hard draw the Wave here. Back to our turn, and we just start special summoning. Eventually, before I can get to Toad, he flips Big Welcome, and I try to negate with Argonaut, and it turns out Argonaut only negates on your opponent's turn. This deck is so trash. He could have went for a Big Welcome Lady Pop Shark, but he drew her. We go back and forth for a few turns, but honestly, Bubble Reef Pot of Greeting me for every single turn with a Toad negate is too much for him to handle, and we end this duel with a very beautiful, poetic Kraken, Destroy, and Burn for game. Sometimes to win these hard matchups, you will need a little bit of Imperm Voodoo and your opponent to draw the only card in their deck they don't want to draw. Let's get into that final round of the day against Jordan on Pearly. Now, we managed to win the dice roll against the best player at locals, and you know how it be sometimes. A little bit of luck to go EXO would be amazing here. I start my turn with Signet Mining, discarding Sleepy Joe, and I get ashed, so pass turn. Yeah, my weakest hand of the day, probably, and it lost to a single disruption. Yeah, these things happen. I have an Ash of my own that I could be using here on Per Lily, but I decided to hold it instead. Pearly's a weird deck, and I generally struggle to find the best points to Ash it. Realistically, Ash either ends their turn sometimes, or they just play through it like it didn't do anything, and you discarded a card for fun. Now, he sets up a Pretty with the Field Spell and a Continuous for next turn, so my top deck Imperm and no other engine is going to take us to game number 2, in what is probably the fastest duel of my entire weekend. Game number 2, we're going to try again with the Seahorse as our starter, climbing into Sea Angel that will be hit with a Droll on our dive ad, but not to worry. Droll isn't the be-all, end-all against MARINCESS, so we still pass with 2 back row and a Bubble Reef to keep drawing on the following turns. He stops our draw with Imperm in the draw phase. We drop Ash on his continuous spell, but it looks like he's got a lack of meaningful engine here and just has to pass it over to us. We're going to keep drawing with Reef every turn, generate a ton of advantage with 4 set cards, and enough damage to send this one into game number 3. We open Droll and Lockbird here, which in theory is good, but against Pearly, they have so many ways to play during the draw phase that because of Droll's main phase restriction, it feels a little bit underwhelming. He passes on Beauty, and during our standby, gets a draw from the Sleepy. We're going to drop evenly matched in the battle phase, and he keeps the Beauty, but staples galore. Thank you, Duel Devastator. It's time for Teenage Mutant Kaiju Turtle. Our only engine in main phase 2 is Spring Girl, but that's enough since this deck only needs 1 MARINCESS to do anything meaningful, so we keep climbing, but the last card is Nibiru. I thought I had some kind of relevant follow-up here, and I should probably have learned this from a previous round, and I don't know if it's the deck list or if it's physically not possible with a token under a waterlock, but I can't actually do anything useful. So I pass on Slug here, which to my detriment just gave him the game, because now it's time for Happiness OTK by boosting itself, searching 3 times, and halving my monster's attack multiple times. And that right there is, before you start link climbing and special summoning, maybe have a plan in place here. If you have any advice on what to do with just the Nibiru token and 1 extender in MARINCESS, I'd love to know, because with the Waterlock, you can't do anything with Splash Mage, you can't make a Link Spider, so unless I've missed something, I don't know what you do in these situations, but clearly, it lost me the game here, so we end up in a X1 record. Let's take a look at the Spoils of War and see what we picked up this weekend. X1 means that we get 2 extra packs, I think it is, from last week, so that's really cool. And we got our promo Lumina Twilight Sworn Shaman. I have this as a royal rare in Master Duel. Alright, for our first pack, Duelist Nexus, not the craziest set, I'm gonna be honest with you, but let's have a look here for our holo is Mighty Dino King Rex. Alright, very cool. Oh, we got an emergency as well here. Alright, first pack. Pack number 2. Will I pull a secret rare? We got a Rescue Ace, Unchained Shavara, and our holo is Thestalos the Shadowfire Monarch. That's incredible. God. Monarch support still in 2023. You gotta love to see it. Our final pack from Duelist Nexus. Can we get a holo? Well, technically, we always get a super. But you know what I mean. Like a little secret here. Come on. Nope, it's a Sentinel of Testina. Will Testina be a good deck? I'm going to say no Megalol, but we'll see what that second wave does. All right, here is the all-important OTS pack. Will we get an ultimate rare today? All right. Noble Knight Boars, branded in red, and a... my second Nimble Angler to go with last week's. Isn't that incredible? Okay, very nice. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this week. You're the best. And again, Patreon contributions are much appreciated for my TCG content. It would go a long way. Again, love to hear some feedback, so if you have any suggestions for the series, leave a comment down below. Subscribe, as always, if you aren't already. Thank you for watching, and until next time, adios.